Yeah, it was asking a question about why people are affected by the sun. It's because the the melanin is a protection. People have done research on melanin, and even rockets that are launched are coated with melanin because they can withstand high temperatures of heat, such as the rays we get from the sun. Even on a really hot day, you have to remember those rays are traveling like from 91 to 93 million miles away, and those rays reach the planet in like, I think it's like 6 seconds or 6 minutes. I can't remember the exact one, but it's a short space of time. And so you might imagine if you're close to the sun where it's very hot, it literally burns the skin and it burns through, and people can get what is called Hansen's disease, or as I said, leproma, which is another term that is used to describe leprosy. All right, and that's why sometimes it's not good. That's why you see people that go, okay, greetings, you back, Rahul back?
Yeah, greetings, brother.
Oh, that's so much
Can
better.
you?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly, and I'm not echoing
The,
back.
my apologies, bro.
Yeah, so it's all good.
But
It's
now I am
good.
echoing.
Are you?
Okay, but
We can't hear your
yeah,
echo.
that's no. That's coming back to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I understood what you just said
Tour.
about the diplomacy.
Yeah. That's why people, when they go
And
on holiday, they use sunscreen, and they put the sunscreen to screen themselves from the sun. But people that are born in the sun that don't need sunscreen, sometimes they also start using sunscreen. But really, if you're children of the sun, you're melaninite children. There's a book we have called The Melaninite Children that goes into great detail about the subject of melanin and the sun and who is affected and who is not affected. So that would be a great scroll to get hold of if you haven't read that before, from the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. All right?
that's the Melanite
Children.
children.
Yeah.
But tell me, what does interbreeding
So
do to the melanin?
it depends what you're interbreeding with. So,
Well, another human being, supposedly.
yeah, but they're different types of human beings, meaning like if you're melanin dominant person and you intermix with someone who lacks melanin or has a melanin recessive genetics, then your offspring is going to be weaker than if it was two melanin dominant people. So this is why you can see when people go from dark and they mix to light with a light person, and then that person, the light person, mix with another light person, and that light person mix with another light person, it's actually degrading or degenerating the melanin. So you're actually becoming weaker in terms of the melanin. But obviously, like, there's different reasons as well in terms of like what affects you in terms of because you're now kind of like two extremes. So people suffer from all kinds of things based on
Yeah,
their
but
mixing.
in the so-called black community, you got like red skin and dark skin. For instance, I was looking on YouTube a few days ago. There's an individual. He says he's the darkest individual on the planet, but he has like Caucasian features,
Okay, I
but
mean
he's very, very dark.
okay, but what's the question? You're saying it's very
No,
dark, but I'm not getting the question.
no, I'm saying you're talking about, let's say, you. Yeah, because I mean, in the black community, you got red skinned people. For instance, in
Yeah, but that's what
where
I'm
I'm
saying.
from in Jamaica, you got red skinned people.
Those terms are not scientific terms, like black and red. Those are not scientific terms. I'm saying when you're dealing with genetics, if you study genetics, and study hereditary and how offspring come about dealing with DNA, you will find out that it's really based on like dominant and recessive genes. So
Yeah, I mean, you got Gregor Mendel, who spoke about the recessive and the dominant gene.
right,
Huh?
right. That's yeah, Mendel. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was one of the most famous and recognized geneticists that explained and broke down. And in fact, we have a book called "The Man from Planet Risk" that that goes into that as well. So it's a very clear science. However, just because of your skin color doesn't mean that the genetics in terms of I'm saying complexion has a bearing, but actually is really more based on your DNA. So it's not about colorism either, because like you say, you can look at like for example, you can look at the Sans people. You have both light and dark skin or complexion Sans people, but they have the genetics that everyone else on the planet, all the other races, borrow from. And it's not a matter of preferring dark skinned people over light skinned people. It's just, we're just talking about genetics in terms of dominant and recessive genes, or melanin dominant and melanin recessive genes. But a person can still be light and have strong DNA or genes. So it's not really just about the color, because there are other factors that also go into it. So it's not really about racism and discrimination of dark skinned people and light skinned people, but this is, scientific facts when it comes to melanin, and the darker being melanin dominant, or they produce more melanin than those who don't. And that's why people in Africa or closer to the equator are generally darker, and they receive more energy from the sun, and they don't really get the disease. Whereas when you start to look at, so what I'm saying is, it's not just based on the complexion, because if you know the story of Ham, right, and his son Canaan, that's why it says cursed be Canaan, right? But in the old times, when people didn't really understand that, they looked at the word Ham, because the word Ham means black. And old time Christian groups used to say that black people were cursed, and that's why they were black, because of the word Ham.
Really?
Yeah, the Jehovah's Witnesses used to say this until it was discovered and broken down that the curse wasn't actually on Ham. It said curse be Canaan, and Canaan was his son. And as I said before,
But
that's why you get the word Hansons, which is
you
Ham's.
say ham. Is that Ham or Kam?
Well, it comes from Ham, which is the real pronunciation, where you get the word Kemet from, and that Chem or Ham became Ham, yeah. And then Ham, which was one of the sons of Noah, his son Canaan or Canaan was the one that was cursed. This is why he moved into the mountains. His real name was Laban, right? And he went into like Europe, because into the mountains, because the climate was more conducive for his melanin recessive skin and his eyes, and he couldn't take. He was like, it was an albino, in other words. And albinos
Okay,
find it,
okay.
yeah. And from that
So that
albino,
was
yeah,
that was a dundus.
that's what we would term dundus, yeah. So it's from him
Okay.
that you started to get, then he got the curse of leprosy later on, which is a disease. And that's where the, the fact that, he had to basically move away from hot climates and go into like Europe and the Caucasus Mountains. This is where you get the word Caucasus or Caucasus Asian or Caucasian, which comes
I
from.
don't mean to cut you there, but from what I gather about so-called dundus or albinos, at birth they have to have a blood transfusion. Is that true?
No, that not just because they're an albino, but anybody may need blood at birth. But that's not just only to albinos or dundus, which is a bit of I think, an insulting word. But yeah, albino.
Why is it
Albinos.
insulting?
I mean, it's like calling somebody. Yeah, it's just how do I explain that one? It's like, you know, the word Pakistan. Yeah, it's like half caste. I
Hmm.
mean, that's not so even when you call people pygmies, for example, the word pygmy is an insult, but it's referring to those Pataites, the small people that were originating on the planet first, who became those, like I said, those sans people that everyone gets their traits from. You see, so, but yeah, I
But
mean, it's, go ahead,
can I just cut you there?
tour.
I I used to go to school. I used to go to school with a Pakistani brother who was very muscular,
Yeah,
very large, but he used to refer to himself as a Paki. And I used to think, why are you saying that, brother? That's such an insulting term. And
yeah.
this was at a time when there was racism all over the place, you know. But he said he calls himself that, so when people call him that, he doesn't feel
Yeah, I
offended.
mean, I get the point. It's just like the N word that people called us. People owned it and started using it. This is why, you know, a lot of rappers use it until this day. People say you shouldn't because it was a derogatory term used by like the slave masters or whatever, right? But people say they're owning it now. It's like even the word Africa or African. People use that term in a proud way, but really, it was derived from a word that was used to separate you and to divide you, and that's what it means to divide from the word
What
farka,
was that word?
farka or afrikia, yeah, from the Arab word, from the Arabic. So there are different stories regarding
What does it mean? What does it mean?
to divide or to divide, faraka or
Afrikia?
yeah, to divide, which is what they did to the continent and divided it up into different countries and made people think that they were different from each other, but they are the same people who share the same DNA. And then the Berlin Conference was used to divide it up based on the resources, yeah, that different Europeans decided to award or give each other, like the gold, the platinum. There's actually a map. You can Google this. There's a map. If you Google the map, the Berlin Conference and how Africa was divided, you see how like they divided it up, and that the Berlin Conference of 1884, and I'm trying to see if I can find something
Who
dividing.
orchestrated the Berlin Conference?
Pardon?
Who orchestrated the Berlin Conference?
Okay. If let me just see if I can find it. The Berlin Conference of 1884, divide. Let me just see Africa map. This is something that is very well. There you go. Like if you look at, I just literally, I googled YouTube. I should have been googling Google itself. But let me just go to Google. Okay, there you go. I've just googled it. So if you just Google anything, Berlin Conference 1884, divide Africa, there's a map that shows you France, Britain. It was really Belgium, Portugal, Germany, and it just shows you all the different parts. There are different maps that let me show you another one that actually show you, like, for example, the one I'm looking at is Africa: Unequal Global Power Relations, Legacy of Berlin, and it shows you where the gold, the platinum, the crude oil, the iron, the cotton, how it was all chopped up and divided. But we're digressing from the original point, which is that, yeah, the word Africa means to divide, and that's how they divided Africa from its original name was Tamaray, and but because people today call themselves Africans, because that's the term that has been popularized, but we're really Nuapians or Tamarayans, but these are the terms that you have to learn once your eyes are open and you start to study Wu-Sabat. All right.
Wow, there's so much more questions I could ask you, but thank you very
Yeah.
much for your time.
No
Okay.
problem. You can always call back in again, just to give other people a chance to call in and ask questions. But I'm gonna
Sure, sure,
I'm
sure,
gonna
sure.
answer the ones in the chat until we get another call. But appreciate love your call. Yeah, keep calling in.